Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Ratliff Mandolins Weekly Production Diary. Bet you're wondering what this is. Well, this was one of my weekend projects, which I've got two or three here that I'll discuss with you before we get started on mandolins. My uncle on my mother's side called me up one day and said, I have this table here and the rubber banding, the edging on it is coming loose and you can have it if you want it. So it's a nice folding table. I went out there and picked it up, and this weekend one of my job jar projects for the weekend was to re-glue the banding on that, and that's exactly what you're looking at. I decided to tie the banding on just exactly like I do mandolin binding, and so seems to have worked. But it's in the middle of the shop floor now, and so before I can get started, I have to clean up this mess and fold it back up and put it away, and I have to put away that mess, which was another weekend project. And this project was brought about by an uncle as well. Different uncle, but still, this was an uncle on my father's side. This chunk of concrete come out of my grandfather's house that my uncle and my grandfather built probably in 1958. And this was a piece of concrete that they poured for the front porch. And it's got 16 marbles inlaid in it. And it was always, you had to step on these marbles to go in the front door. And when my grandparents died, my uncle actually pried this concrete up because he and my grandfather poured it. And so we were talking about it one day, and he said, you know what, I actually dug that up out of the ground, broke it as we dug it up, but I've got it. And I said, you know what, if you ever want to get rid of it, I'd love to have it. And Buddy, he showed up the other day and dropped it off from way up in Ohio. And so I'm going to build a frame around it, pour it out square, and put that out back in my fire pit. So we've actually reattached broken pieces here, and this is all that we have left. So that's another weekend project that I have that needs to be cleaned up before I can start to work on mandolins. And the third weekend project that I've got is this piece of, I think, white oak. It's an oak anyway. And I was making a fireplace mantle. These are the two boards that will sit here like this. And I was going to carve the edge. And so I cut the rough pieces out this weekend and did a test carving. I'll let you look at that. And so I need to set this off to the side as well. So before I can start working on mandolins this week, I have to clean those things up, get those things packed away and shoved over in the corner somewhere so that I can free up my workspace. I need to build a fire. This will be the first day that we built a fire here in the shop because it is now November the 14th and we've had a really cold night and it's really chilly and uncomfortable in this room. So I'm going to build a fire, clean the mess up, and then I get to start work on mandolins. There's a very little bit to do left on the sides that we had bent last week to get them ready to glue the tops on. And so we'll do that. And we're still in the middle of actually making the tops for this batch of mandolins. And they're kind of roughed out, if memory serves me, but they don't have tone bars and they don't have the final graduations. So that's where we are going to be spending most of our week this week. We'll be working on the tops, and hopefully we're going to get some tops glued on to sets of sides. That's the goal anyway. Time for another drilling on these tops. We're using a finer bit, and we're just sneaking down onto the thickness dimensions that we want. Going to be a little bit closer now, and so it's time to do that. Okay, it is fairly early in the week, Tuesday, and I have all of the tops dimensioned down to their final dimensions, thicknesses in the center and the edges, and the only thing that they really haven't been done, and I can't do that yet, is the actual shaping right around the edge. We're going to glue this on a set of sides and then trim this off and then clean up the edges. But the interior of the tops are done, and they are all ready for the tone bars. I have some tone bar stock right here. We're going to cut and fit tone bars, and then I have a monstrosity like this that goes over to the prop bar deck, and it's got a bit of a bowl out of it that matches the arch of the top, and this will go, that thing will lay in that tray, and we're going to glue the tone bars right here. So I've got 4 of these, and we're going to do 4 of those right now before we go back to work on the sides, and let me show you that right here. Now I have 5 sets of sides just like this. We have the bent curly maple sides fit in the mold, willow blocks here, a maple block here, mahogany block here. We have the first thing that really needs to be done to these things is have this overlap here sanded down, trimmed down smooth, so that it just one continuous flow right here. Right now we have a ledge where those 2 side pieces mate, and then they need to be thickness down. Now the back side is pretty level, but the top is not. There's some places that are not level, and this is over thicknessed right at the moment, so we got to take a lot of it down and then clean everything up. This part here, level everything down to the final dimension, and then we can put the kerfing in. The kerfing is this stuff right here. It's a strip of triangular wood with slots cut in it so that it bends, and it'll just fit right in there when we're done, real pretty like that right there. It'll give us a wider gluing surface than just this to glue that top on with. So first we're going to work on the tone bars on the tops, then we're going to come back and start this mess here. Now, up till now in the batch, we have done nothing except assemble parts, strip out pieces, and do a little bit of gluing here. Basically, we're at the point in the batch where we have a whole collection of just pieces and parts that haven't been put together yet. But we have taken those pieces and parts, and we've glued up rims, sides, and these are just a very little bit away from being ready to have the tops glued on. Just a little bit of level sanding and some kerfing put in. And as you can see, yesterday before I quit work, I glued tone bars in 4 tops, and they much like the sides, have just a little bit of work to do to be ready to glue these tops on those sides. Now, once that happens, then all of a sudden we don't have just a collection and a bundle of parts, but we have a mandolin at that point. Just like this A style here, the side, we have a mandolin. Now true, it doesn't have a neck and it doesn't have a back on it, but if you'll stop and think, this can be numbered. This can be mandolin number 1 or mandolin number 7. And the next thing to do after the top is glued on is to do the binding treatment. And that quite often is what determines that this one's going to be mandolin number 6 or whatever. So we are very, very, very close to being able to start putting the numbers to the mandolins. I am thrilled to bits. This is happening pretty quick. We do not have a series of parts anymore. We're going to have some mandolins. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to clean those sides up, all 5 sets, get them ready, get the kerfing glued in, get those things ready for these tops, and glue some more tone bars in these tops, and clean these tops up and get them ready to glue on. And so by tomorrow I'll be able to do that job. I think I've got enough prop sticks to do 3 or 4 tops at one time. So today is a big day getting ready, and tomorrow will be even bigger day because tomorrow we're going to be making mandolins. And now these sides are ready to be level sanded. It is Thursday morning, and yesterday afternoon, after I glued all that kerfing on, I was also able to glue up tone bars in 4 more tops. So that whole job is almost done. Today is Thursday morning, like I said, and today is a big day in this batch because after today, we won't have a collection of parts anymore. We're going to have some mandolins, like I mentioned before. I'm going to glue the tops on the sides today. I think I've got enough prop bars to do maybe 3 or 4 tops. So I'm really anxiously looking forward to that. This is all, like I said, this is always the day where I quit having parts and I start having mandolins. So it's kind of exciting. Let's get right to it. I'll start with getting the tops out of the prop bar decks, and then the sides I will level off the kerfing that we glued up yesterday, and then we'll put tops on backs or tops on sides. First one. Number 2. And now I have mandolin number 3. The third one's had the top glued on today, and probably the last one because I only have 3 prop sticks left. But we got 3 tops glued on. It is Friday morning, and we have 3 tops glued on 3 sets of sides. So let's take them out of the prop bar deck and take them out of the molds and see what we've got. Now it is true that the top still overhangs, needs to be trimmed off. The neck joint needs to be put in. The scroll needs to be sawn out and carved down. The F-holes need to be put in, and this thing will need binding put on it before we can do much else as well. But nevertheless, we do have a mandolin, and I have 2 more back here, exactly like this one, and 2 more over here that are ready to be run through the same process and have the top glued on. Well, that pretty much is it for the week. 3 mandolins have their tops glued on. These 2 are still in the molds, but their tops are glued on. So we got 5 shells of mandolins. And next week we'll continue on. We'll be bending some more sides and working on the backs and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I certainly hope that you will come back next week to visit us one more time on the next episode of the Ratliff Mandolins Weekly Production Diary. My name is Audie Ratliff, and I bid you a good week, and hopefully we'll see you next week.